Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Mike.
Dylan? What would you say if I told you the Sunburn gaming engine could be used for iOS?
That's actually extremely cool.
Where did you hear this information from?
I haven't, but if...
We don't deal in rumors on this podcast. We're a very fact-oriented Are you spreading rumors? Are you leaking information, Dylan?
I didn't say
Do
anything.
you know something?
No?
Do you know something about Sunburn is possibly going to compile to native code?
I didn't hear anything. Is it?
Well, I'm asking you. Where did you hear these rumors?
But, no, it's not...
There's nothing on their website about how the Sunburn gaming engine will have its own compiler and go from C# to C++ and then natively compile down to OpenGL if you want. Nothing on the website about that. There's no posts, no press releases.
Have you heard something? Were you told something?
Well, I'm a little curious of how you're leaking this information onto the podcast. Are you on the take, Dylan?
I didn't say
anything. Did you get some
anything
extra
about
money?
it. No, I didn't say anything about Sunburn compiling down.
Well, I can say that I definitely know nothing of the Sunburn gaming engine having rewritten a C# compiler so that you can continue to write your games in C#, yet run them on multiple platforms coming sometime in the near future. I definitely didn't say that.
Oh, okay. You didn't say that, so...
Yes, if the Sunburn gaming engine did become a cross-platform gaming engine, it would kind of be the first real game programmer's engine, I would say. Most of the ones that we've looked at, Unity, Unreal, and a couple others, you know, as developers, we get pulled out of the code, and we don't get to see our game loop anymore, and we're not instantiating the binary anymore. And that's one of the nice things for programmers about XNA, is just the raw power you have when you have access to all the lines of code, and you're not going through a tool.
Yeah, dumped into an editor.
But it still maintains that editor, and it still has that tool. So if these rumors that you've apparently heard but won't divulge your sources, Dylan, turn out to be true, that could be a very exciting Sunburn engine.
I haven't heard anything about that.
Oh, okay. Well, stay tuned to the GameMarx website. There might be some more information on the site at some point in the near future of these rumors that we have no information on. But you can go not read about these rumors at synapsegaming.com.
So,
all right, everyone. Welcome to the show. Tonight with me is Dylan. Cicely's off mic at the moment, but she's here. Whee! Yeah. And tonight's guest, we have John Posey and Chris Goodrich of Products for Robots. Hello, gentlemen.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up, man?
All right. Where are you guys based out of?
Athens, Georgia.
Did you
What?
Did you just move to Athens, Georgia?
Chris, this is Chris. I just moved to Athens, Georgia, not a week ago, only like 5-6 days ago.
Because we're up in Knoxville, so we could have timed this better. You guys could have like been on camera in the booth.
Could have, but I'll tell you what, I'm pretty sick of driving at this point. I just came from Las Vegas.
I'm sorry, what's that? You came from Vegas?
Yeah, that's where the last place I was before I started relocating.
Okay, explain to me how the choices were Vegas and Athens, and you went Athens.
Well, I'm in Athens.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much the move was based on John's pretty much embedded here, and we have been making strides to getting products for robots moving in a more efficient direction. And so that's eventually came to the point where I couldn't really afford to stay in Vegas anymore. Athens seemed like the next logical place since we were still going to be working together, whether it be telecommuting or being in the same room.
How long have you guys been together as a game development team?
I guess early 2009. Are you still there? I think we might have just... Oh, you just brought something else up. Sorry. Yeah, I think early 2009 is when we started working on stuff together.
Yeah, but I've been working on Products for Robots for about 8 years now, trying to building up everything and gathering the team.
Okay, so who is? I'm going to guess one of you is a designer, one of you is a developer. Who's who?
I design and pretty much run the business, and Chris is art.
Yeah, I should say most things art. I don't want to give the misconception that I do a lot of 3D work, because apparently people think that if you're a concept artist, you should also hands down be able to do that as well. So.
So who does the game coding? Who's the
that would be Tom, our programmer, and he's in Florida, and his preferred means of communication is AOL Instant Messenger. So
developers are a funny bunch.
Yeah, they're quite fun.
Just to kind of set the tone for everybody here listening to the show, what platform, what framework do you guys work in mostly? Are you using Unity or?
Everything we do is coded from scratch. Tom just pretty much builds all the code and library style and compiles it in like Visual Studio, I think.
So you guys really don't have a clue, do you?
No, it's all built from scratch.
Yeah, basically from our standpoint, it might as well be magic because we never see it happen.
You just throw it over the wall, Tom, make this shit go, and then...
No, really, I just send him a bunch of stuff, and then one day he's like, hey, look, it's here, and I say, cool.
Yeah, that's about how it is. Like I said, his preferred means of chatting is Instant Messenger, so we get video updates and pictures and emails and chat messages.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the extent of it.
Now, was the game that I guess you're best known for, or the best game you've done, your most successful game is Metacell?
Yeah, I guess you could call it our launch title.
Okay, is that your first game?
Yeah.
That's a team. Yeah, that's the first game that we produced together.
Did you do something following Metacell?
We've done some stuff on different games here and there, but this was like our first thing where it's like, hey, Tom, Chris, and me, let's go make a game, and then, hey, we made a game.
So, I haven't played Metacell, just kind of watched videos and checked it out a bit. Okay. And it's essentially, I put in the thing today, it was kind of like a puzzle quest in space. Is that accurate, or?
Well, it's eventually, the Metacell that's out right now is what I would call like 80% of what we wanted. It's the core game mechanic, which is, shooting match threes in space, having kind of a hectic play style, kind of throwing back to the old nostalgia of arcade games that were meant to drive you up the wall.
And eat your quarters.
Yeah. I don't know. Since it was our first title, we decided why not start where games started.
Yeah, and we also the reason we chose Match 3 to kind of work around is because it's our first project, and we wanted to know it was something that we could feasibly complete in a short amount of time.
Wow. Okay, so you're not like any developers that I know. Are you sure you didn't start an MMO first?
Oh no! See, funny story. The studio that we met at were brought in, and they were doing a MMO called Crusades. It was a small studio called Visual Effects Studios down in Louisiana, and effectively it was a bunch of guys that found some investor money, and they were trying to make Star Wars Galaxy pre-combat update again. So yeah, we technically started with an MMO.
Yeah, that's how we got our start in the industry.
It just wasn't ours or our decision. We just thought it was pretty cool to work on.
Okay, so you guys have worked in the game industry before you went on your own. Is that?
Yeah, we have.
Oh, okay. So how much? So what are your backgrounds? How much game experience do you guys have?
As far as developing, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess I would say, for me personally, as far as doing artwork for video games, gosh, how long? Cumulatively, a little over 2 years of working on various different things. A lot of stuff which never came to fruition, but I've made a lot of buttons and user interfaces. Believe me. So.
Yeah, and I've been working in design and games since about 2009. Before that, I'd been working on designing a tabletop system that's still in development at the moment. But hopefully it'll be hitting open beta within the next, I don't know, I'm hoping like...
Did you say 40 days?
Yeah, maybe June.
Now this is Zombicide?
Sadly, we're going to have to change the name because there's another board game that's launching in August 2012 called Zombicide. So we're working on some new titles, but as soon as we really lock in the one, we'll have a huge update soon.
Yeah. So we still have a lot of stuff. We still have to come up with the logo concept and start doing more, a lot of creature concepts and characters and things of that nature to get prepped for that.
All right. So you guys have a good amount of experience before you guys kind of started doing the indie thing or doing it solo.
Yeah, we basically took that experience and just sort of utilized our knowledge of what we knew would work and what we knew wouldn't work, and then kind of went from there. You know.
Now, Metacell, you can get on. Oh, let's see. I know you can download from your site, right? But what services did you?
It's also being distributed through.
That's what I saw.
Yeah, Gamersgate and GameStop, which had acquired Impulse.
How successful has your game been on those services?
It's been all right. I mean, like for us coming out of nothing and not really having any advertising except for what we can do with what we got. It's been pretty good. Close to about, I'd say maybe 50, 60 sales, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's phenomenal when you consider that we have no advertising budget, that people are still managing to find it and are willing to purchase copies.
All right, and then just kind of offsetting background here, but at some point you guys started working on Metacell 2 idea, and you decided to kickstart it. So was it something that you guys had in progress and then went to Kickstarter with, or you saw Kickstarter and said, hey, maybe we could use this to do our Metacell 2?
Well, funny story. We actually started working on Metacell 2 when we started working on Metacell 1, as well as kind of also working on Metacell 3, kind of framing in the saga. The Kickstarter thing was, well, we kind of found out about Kickstarter. I guess we could say we were a little bit late to the party.
As we usually are.
But, well, we were trying to decide which project we needed to do. And, I had been working on Metacell 2, building the production schedule in the pipeline and really gearing up for that through the previs. And it was kind of just like, well, Kickstarter, it's cool. I'm working on Metacell 2. Might as well we just kickstart Metacell 2.
Now, not to spoil anybody that was waiting for the punchline, but it wasn't successful in funding, and we talked about Metacell 2 several weeks ago on the podcast, and I guess that's how you found us, because I'm assuming somebody clicked through from GameMarx.com and pledged, because I think you can see that information, and then you found us that way. Is that how that happened?
I'm not sure. John just said, hey, we're mentioned in this podcast. I was in Shreveport visiting with my grandparents one night when he just calls me up and tells me that. So I went that night since I was up working on some stuff for the Kickstarter and listened to the podcast, which I really enjoyed, by the way. It's good stuff.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I was just bored one day, and I just Googled Metacell. I was just going through the thingies.
Oh, wow. So I actually had this kind of hope that we at least, contributed $5 or something. Somebody saw it and clicked the link after the show and gave $5. And because I do know from the ECMO Gamers podcast, they will see referral traffic or something, but I don't know if they have to donate. I don't have to get with Patrick the details on it. And you guys sent a great email to us, and from that I knew I wanted to kind of have you on the show and talk about the Kickstarter experience. To recap what I believe I said in the show, and you guys feel free to oh no, you also said this. the Kickstarter had a very well done. Oh no, it's not going to play for me. Okay, there we go. It had a very well done Tim and Eric, big awesome show. Is that what they call it, or is it just Tim and Eric show?
I think the style in particular that you're referring to is Tom Goes to the Mayor.
Tom Goes to the Mayor. Okay.
That's by Tim and Eric.
Yeah, it's Tim and Eric art style as far as I'm concerned.
And you guys did that really well. And the thing that I took away from it and brought out, and I know one of the reasons I was going to mention and talk about on the podcast was like it left me conflicted. Because it was like, you guys obviously can do things well, but that's not an original idea. And, you know, it kind of left like this mixed...
Tim and Eric is a thing that you either love or hate, so...
Well, yeah, it's probably really, polarizing.
It really is 50-50, and, you know, in all fairness, even though I do have an affinity for Tom Goes to the Mayor, I have to say that, in a way, I do kind of agree. I remember over Christmas, I was watching the Crimbus special of Tim and Eric, and about 20 minutes in, we just both look at each other and we're like, I don't really want to watch this anymore. And we turned it off because it was just getting like too weird, totally too weird. So I sympathize with your standpoint. I get it. It really is like you're either going to love it or hate it. You're flipping a coin with that one. But the reason we chose that in particular is because, you know, no one knows who we are, and we really wanted a way for people to, I guess, be able to identify with us on some level. You know, like, hey, we like, you know, alternative comedy too, you know, something along those lines.
Now, and I think the other thing, and I may not have called this out on your particular podcast, or on your particular item, but I've called it out on several, and that's that to get the game was $25 in the pledge rewards, and I've kind of maintained with no real, like, research or Mike's gut opinion is that as an indie, unless your name is Tim Schafer, the game is $10. And if you
the $25 was the physical actual game, like you know, back in the day where you go to the store and you get this cool awesome box and has like a big jewel case in it, a nice fatty instruction manual, and maybe like
I see that now on the Kickstarter site. It's $5 for the digital.
We actually gave you the game for $5 with Metacell 1.
Yeah, it's if you give us a $5 donation, you get both games digital download for free.
Okay, yeah, so you didn't have that one. There's a list I start making of like common mistakes on Kickstarter for a startup for an indie studio. I mean, if your name, you know, is Tim Schafer or Brian Fargo, you know, go at it, man. Like, you know, cash in on your name. But as an indie studio, you know, it's really dicey. What other reasons do you guys think? Because you have a lot of gameplay footage up, and that's something that I always attribute to an unsuccessful game is there's no gameplay footage, and it's a lot to ask gamers to imagine what an idea is going to look like.
That's actually where we fell short. We were a little premature in running the Kickstarter. We were still within the borderline between previs and pre-production. Tom hasn't jumped in yet and building the framework for the game, so we didn't really have a demo to play. So all we had was the game design document, how the game's going to be and everything. The art starting a bit going for it. I think today we just finished the ortho for the 3D ship to go into production.
Yeah, so we're still diligently working on content for it. In this particular one, I spent several painstaking hours working on it to give kind of a simulation of what we were wanting to do with Metacell. And I know it looks totally ridiculous and hectic. It obviously, there will be more people helping you since it's intended to be a multiplayer title, but it's designed to be pretty intense, I guess. And and honestly, this probably scared off a couple of our backers. I know when we posted it, we had one or two people remove their pledges.
Well, I'm going to attribute that to people can't read. We're talking about a 3D game, and they see 2D, and I say we made it with Metacell 1 assets as 2D because we don't have 3D. I don't know. All I got to say is I think we need to wait for Metacell 2 till we actually are in the demo stage for people to check out some more of the gameplay. that'd probably be the thing that really most.
I
help
think
us.
I would. I'm kind of thinking out loud, but I would have 10 and 25 be the first two levels. And you know, I mean, obviously you can take pledges of anything, but for the first,
Yeah, I realize that now.
Like the small pledges is well, I mean, there are obviously a lot of things that hurt us in the end. You know, lack of exposure and people not being able to see what we were doing. A lot of people were on the fence, which is a lot of the feedback that we got was, you know, people that were interested in the concept but really wanted to see something substantial to be able to commit to it.
right? Because it really is pre-orders. I mean, as much as you want to think of it as like, you know, crowdsource investing and we love you, it's like no. People are just pre-ordering something.
Yeah, that's how I tried to take. I tried to take it, like with the pledges, like having the $5 and the $10 and the 25.
Did you lose your brain?
No, I just couldn't remember where I was going.
All right, well, that's the end of that thought.
Yeah. In the video, too, I think it's great when they start off right into, you know, like maybe a slide or two of like, here's the name, here's the in a world gone wrong slide or whatever, and then gameplay. You know, of like, and it doesn't have to be like, you know, gameplay footage. It can be, you know, like a few seconds and then sliced, cut to this and then cut to that of just like, show me the game. Like, you know, if we were at a strip club, like, I would just like throw my entire wallet on the stage. Like, look, I don't want to screw around with this tea shit. Just all off now. Show me what you got. So I think that really helps because as I go through and I don't know if I'm not becoming biased because I'm trying to watch every video game Kickstarter that hits, and that's not normal because most people are going to find out about by friends or Facebook or
Could be like on, you know, when we're doing Xbox Live indie game reviews where there was a certain amount of just kind of like you get worn down by seeing just so many.
And the same mistakes again and again and again.
Well, whether they're mistakes or not, just the sheer volume is.
Well, like there's one this week. There's one this week that says, you know, of like, hey, the graphics in the video are not the current graphics and they look much better. We'll get an update later. And it's like, I just want to reach out and just smack them and go like, then wait to post your Kickstarter.
Or don't say that.
Yeah,
and
that's
then post
story
it
messed up.
Exactly. Because then you also make them think of like, oh, well, this is crap. You know, like what I'm looking at is...
No, that's totally true, man. That's one of the main things that we totally realized.
Yeah, and the feedback we got back from our gameplay simulation was I guess not good to say the least. We didn't have a great response to it, so unfortunately but there's a lot of things we need to go reanalyze for the Kickstarter campaign and see what we can do better.
Yeah, I guess in terms of say video game kickstarting is a lot different than I would assume movie and film Kickstarters, because those are you really are just kickstarting a proof of concept, an idea, while video games, the mentality is the gamers want to see it, so you're more along lines waiting for the product.
The film guys on Kickstarter also have the advantage of being film guys.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, if you can't make a trailer look good, then you shouldn't make a film.
Yeah.
So, like, that gives them a leg up because you just watch that trailer and you're already conditioned to watch trailers and want to see movies.
Right.
Yeah.
And the quality that they can produce, too. I mean, I used to be a movie guy back in the day, did a lot of video editing and things of that nature, but... it kind of fell to the wayside, but unfortunately I met John and he's pulling me back in. So I'm having to wear a lot of those old hats again and kind of refamiliarize myself with a lot of those old things. So hopefully I don't make a trailer that sucks.
Metacell 2 has a big story component to it, right?
Yeah, it's the middle chapter of the saga.
I would almost highlight that more than the gameplay in kind of the video or the pitch. I think it's hard to go to a Kickstarter And you know, if you see like, okay, well, this is just a shump, this is just a shoot 'em up, right? Why do you need $60,000 for a shoot 'em up?
That's the exact response we got from a lot of people.
Because video games are extremely expensive, especially if you want to compete with AAA standards today.
Yeah.
Yes, they don't understand that. That's not a concept.
That is not a viable excuse as far as they're concerned.
No, clearly it's not good enough for the community, so we got to do better.
You guys got a really good upbeat attitude too. I mean that seriously. I mean that seriously. Of like, you know, it's okay. We got to do better by the community. We've got to, like, you know, do this better, do that better, and I think that's really important for indie developers that, you know, might be listening to this show or something. When we did game reviews, when we were a review website for indie games, man, we would get the pissed off indie developer emails like once a week.
Oh man, no, I love the like reviews. If there's anything wrong with something and there's a like constructive criticism is probably the best thing for any form of art. And video games is totally a form of art.
And we were pretty, especially when you had a bad review. And we were pretty like, all right, Dylan, can you look at this? Because look at what I'm thinking, and then tell me that, you know, just kick the tires on this and make sure, like, you know, this stuff is bad. Because I mean, if it was total junk, like, we didn't even bother covering it. Like, that wasn't worth covering.
Are you talking about written reviews at this point?
The written reviews, yeah. That we would get, and then you get something, and you know, they will find one little nit to pick in the review. That's, you know, maybe even like some of them were like positives, but they would take it the wrong way. Like there's our infamous Berserk guy. A guy cloned Berserk from the Atari 2600.
From the arcade.
Yeah.
From the arcade. That was a
See,
difference.
that's the thing.
That was an issue.
I said in the review that, you know, and I actually enjoyed the game. You know, like, everything was love, and, you know, but the one thing that I said was that, you know, it's like, this is a throwback to the 2600 Atari game, and he's all upset because it's like, no, this is the arcade cabinet. And then I find out, like, on Facebook, like, he's 20-something.
Yeah.
So it's like, you weren't even alive for either of these.
I think we all played Berserk on the 2600, so yeah, it was, although I barely remembered it.
At least we've all played the 2600.
I grew up playing that with my dad. My dad's a huge tech guy, so we've always had computers and stuff lying around.
Yeah, so do you guys feel that you're going to take some time now, work on game dev, and come back in a little while to Kickstarter with it?
Yeah, we've got a lot of plans in the works, and right now it's kind of like prep time. You know, like, we're going to start working towards another Kickstarter campaign by building more content, basically.
Yeah, when it's ready, we'll come back. We've gotten a lot of responses and a lot of people asking us to come back and retry, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, we'll be back on Kickstarter. Like I said, we learned a lot of lessons, and hopefully they'll pay off in the end.
Diligence is the key.
Now, how did you come up with the goal of 69,000?
A lot of research, a lot of past experience of working in the studios. Pretty much a lot of research and a lot of writing and redoing the plan. It encompasses the team, the size of how long it's going to take. I used a lot of the same data that I gathered from Metacell 1 we were working.
So you guys, like, applied, like, actual game costs and your previous knowledge to this and have a realistic number.
Yeah, it's a realistic.
That's not going to work for the community.
Well, it also has the base 5% that Kickstarter had that takes out written into it. It has the 5% that Amazon Payments takes out. It has the taxes from the government that would need to be taxed, since Kickstarter funds are counted as income, so they'll be income taxed. And since I'm still learning about the C-class laws for the corporation that we're under, so there's some other things I had for there, and also had padding to take care of the Kickstarter pledge rewards. So a good 9,000 to 10,000 of that number was just all of that. The bare minimum of the game was around, I think, 59, 61,000.
Yeah, and that's just that's actually freelance wages because some of the guys we want to work with work in the industry, and we ran all the numbers by them. We got feedback from them how much they charge hourly based on their experience and how many years they'd be doing it, and their range of skill sets and all sorts of things. Like I feel like we did a good amount of research to set that number.
So you guys are completely opposite of. It's a news story I queued up. War balloon. I don't know if you saw this article.
No, to be honest, we spend all of our time developing.
Okay. So, basically, I think they kickstarted Star Command, and they raised 36,000.
Oh yeah, I saw this project.
Yeah, of that, and then this article basically explains how, of that 36,000, like, almost all of it goes out the door. Like, they didn't... So, okay, so I'm going to start subjecting my opinions into this, because, you know, what they said is like, you know, oh, and then this cost, and then this cost, and it's like, you know, we had to get a lawyer to make the company official, and we had to print T-shirts and ship them because we pledged them. And it's like, you guys could have figured out how much all that cost up front, and then these all would have been known quantities. Like, taxes are not a surprise, dude. Guess what? They're taxes.
You live in America. Tax, yeah.
And you know, if you're going to come up with a reward like T-shirts, you need to be budgeting that ahead of time.
Yeah, that's why we had our T-shirts at the $100 marker, just for the sheer fact of cost of screen printing, shipping the U.S. and even international shippings. We had to make sure.
Yeah, not to mention that if we got a lot of people that were getting shirts, but it was still, I guess, a relatively low number compared to like your usual low cost bulk shirt printing, then that would cover the cost of not being able to order, say, 1,000 or 2,000 shirts. If we could only do, like, say, 200 or 300, it'd be a little more pricey per unit.
Yeah, I do a conference, and I'll order about 500 shirts a year for the conference, so I'm all about that. In fact, we actually looked at kickstarting a T-shirt site, design site with Cicely's our graphic designer, and
oh, cool.
We had actually done a T-shirt site years ago, but you got to outlay a significant amount of money if you want to get that good rate on the shirts, and they didn't want to do that. So we tried to do it through Cafe Press, and so we sold some shirts to ourselves and family and friends, and that was about it. And so we shut that down. And they were like, "Oh well, Kickstarter, free money. Let's get in on that. We already have the designs, you know, so we can show off all these T-shirt designs." And I was ready to go at it full bore. I was prepared, like, okay, I'm gonna hire some models. And, you know, basically my motto was tit sell tees. And, you know, we're gonna get some models. We're gonna have some shirts made up just for, that'd be Cafe Press again, but just for the model shoot, so that we can have in the video and things like that. And, you know, and then we were gonna pitch it with an angle of, hey, we're using this local guy that does the printing. They're not going overseas. It's a real high quality screen press. You know, the American Apparel type, like all of that.
Oh, nice.
Well, and I, you know, because I like T-shirts, and it's like I know what shirts I like to wear and what I don't, and I noticed a high number of them are either Gideon Stress tees or they're American Apparels, and we worked real close with a guy in town that does a lot of my T-shirt printing for the conference to, you know, all that, and he actually, like, for I think it was like 50 cents a tee or something ridiculous, would like bag them up individually for us.
Yeah, there were things, but we went through and we talked over every stage of the process what that would do to the bottom line, the amount we were asking.
So, and it ended up, if we were on the site, because initially I thought we were going to do like $20 to you pick a tee, right? Because it's a T-shirt site, so, you know, $20 pick a tee. And it basically came out by the time we were done, we would have been able to ship everything, print everything if we hit our funding goal, and would have no money left for like the next run of shirts.
Yeah.
So basically we would have, like, you know, wasted a lot of light and energy, and at the end of the day made zero off that Kickstarter. We would have no funds to turn around and buy another run of shirts and keep going. And then we figured out like it was going to be like $25, $27 if we actually were going to be able to pull some out of that Kickstarter to get everything going. And at that point, like, I don't think people are buying T-shirts.
Well, I wonder, and you said something earlier when you first started discussing this, like free money. I wonder if a lot of people do that just like not necessarily go in blind, but severely underestimate their costs because it's such a huge amount of money, a huge chunk of money to be given at once. Like, just the idea of, like, sure, if I had $10,000, just no strings attached.
Well, you see, like, especially like, even on, like, Tim Schafer's.
I can do anything.
On, like, Tim Schafer's. You see $3.5 million.
Yeah.
You don't see 80,000 backers that are all promised something. And
you don't see that he was thinking in terms of 400,000 to begin with, which is, still, I'm sure.
That's a solid.
Let me ask John and Chris here. When you put this back up, will you ask for a similar amount that you need, or will you go lower to get funding and then hope to be one of these projects that go over?
Well, to be honest, when Metacell 2 goes back up, the price will depend on how far along in the pipeline we are. Like I said, it's the bare minimum to get the game made that we want. So there's, we're not gonna put 30K up there and hope that we'll 200% it to 60K and then be able to pull off the game we want. We have ideas. We're gonna try to go back to Kickstarter with Metacell 1, since the game is about 80%. We had to cut a lot of game modes we wanted, one of them being multiplayer, and try to see if we could get I think I've finally figured out about how much it costs. It'd be about 5K to get multiplayer and the additional 3 or 4 other game modes we wanted, and
that's obviously
start the porting to iPad and prepping the engine for Linux and Mac development.
Yeah, and 5,000 is obviously a lot more reasonable compared to 69,000. But I mean, a game that's 80% complete doesn't need as much money as a game that's not even started. So.
Of course, the irony being, like, the more that you show up the game, the likelier you are to hit 200 and 400%.
Yeah.
So if you just do it and complete the game and then kickstart it, you'll probably be successful.
Yeah, that's pretty much the logic that we've been following, unless we are able to pay for some form of advertorial or press release through one of these companies like GameBizWire or I think that was the only one I really know about, to get some publicity going. Would also definitely help a Kickstarter campaign.
I don't know how effective that can be for a Kickstarter campaign, because as I was listening to Giant Bomb's podcast this week, they had actually said, like, man, if you have Kickstarter in your email, it's going straight to trash. Because just the number of emails they're getting of, like, hey, can you talk about my Kickstarter? Has already saturated them. And I'm sure if they're talking about it on the podcast and your Kotaku's, Joysticks, they're overwhelmed as well.
I'm sure that's the first place
that was
to go.
I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off there. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say another aspect of using like a parody of a known art style was that it'll get you a lot more attention right off the bat if someone can relate to it than just have us sitting. I mean, if we'd have done a video of us talking, like being filmed, it would have been the two of us on a webcam and maybe Tom on a little AIM chat window, just like screen capping it, talking about a game that we wanted to make.
Yeah,
exactly. Which is why this is why we decided to go for broke, even though we were both really busy. We just said we got to make something really cool to try to get attention.
Yeah, I mean, plus, I had a lot of fucking fun making that video, dude.
I think the guys who obviously bring in their girlfriend to read from a card are a step above the guys on the couch. And there's a lot of Kickstarters that I watch. It's like, she doesn't even have anything to do with video games, let alone your studio. And I don't see any of these getting funded. It's just like, it's just something so false about, like, bringing in somebody to talk about your game for you.
Then pulling their tits out to make sure people listen, like, yeah.
Well, yeah, with a lot of the attention that Kickstarter's been getting, with Brian Fargo getting $2.9 million, and then Double Fine getting absolutely an amazing amount of money. Kickstarter might turn into like the modern age, snake oil salesman, We've yet to hear of a massive scam to follow.
We have we got into a lot of this on last week's podcast, but I think if Kickstarter doesn't do a better job curating, they could destroy it themselves, because if the scam artists can spam away, they will overwhelm anybody that puts effort into a Kickstarter, and you'll lose the audience. I think that's actually more dangerous right now than there being some sort of bubble or like the moment has passed danger.
Yeah, and there's always the danger of that.
I think it's still on the uprise. Like, people are still finding Kickstarter even after, we know of Tim Schafer because we're pretty plugged in, and it's the industry and everything like that.
Oh, yeah.
The average gamer's no clue yet. When those games start coming out on the shelf and, their friends, or they start knowing people of, like, getting pre-orders, or, this is the game I was telling you about, I think it's got a good year's growth in it, couple of years growth in it before we have to worry about, is it too large? But man, if they, some of the junk, we talked about one last week that they put a video up that said, hey, we don't have a video, please give us money and we'll post an update in a little bit.
And that's not to the point of actually being spammers or scammers or anything like that. But
well, it's not a scam, but it shouldn't be on the site. It's a waste, because it's like any of the game services. That precious moment of being new that one day is like your shot to sort of gain momentum, and build. And if you only get half a day on the new release of Kickstarter window because there's 7 spam projects that come out and push you down, then it's not going to go well. Interesting thing that I've seen, since I'm just segueing into my news items. 2 guys from Andromeda, guys from Andromeda.com, the website here, Scott and Mark, these are the guys that did Space Quest. So they basically are like, hey, we're going to do a game. They don't say Kickstarter in here, but it's like, stay tuned, we're going to get a game. And then right behind this one, I saw on this Facebook a Rune page, and it's like, hey guys, we're looking at making a sequel to the classic, Rune game. And it's like, have we gotten to the point where you have to market your Kickstarter event? Is that what's going on? Like, these guys are gonna set up a mailing list, set up a Facebook page. Hey, is there interest in us doing this? And then get a mailing list so that, it's like, our Kickstarter's up now, go and convert. I
think it would make sense. And, we've talked about, Kickstarter being your early marketing for your actual project, and this is just moving it back a step. But it kind of makes sense, because especially right now, when Kickstarter's, really big, we've seen, Tim Schafer, Brian Fargo, Jordan Wiseman, jump back in and do these things. If you are the first big name that fails, it's going to look kind of like, that's the moment where people start worrying, and they're,
It's one thing to be as an Indian fail, but if you were a developer of Legend, of loved cult hit,
yes.
I have a Wikipedia page dedicated to me because of my game on the Atari.
Even if you don't blow away all projections,
Yeah, it's almost like, because people are saying, like, I've read posts about how Brian Fargo didn't raise as much as Tim Schafer, and it's like, cut the fucking dude some slack. He got almost $3 million.
Well, he was second.
Yeah, seriously.
It's America, and it's Super Bowl, and it's like, you either win or you fucking go home. Like, we don't want. But in the span of all of this, like, some guy set up a site selling watches that sync with your iPhone on Kickstarter. It's 4.8 million now.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
It's e-ink too. So it's not even like iPod Nano looking, but it basically does what everybody wanted the iPod Nano to do as a watch. So basically they pretty much said, like, all right, so if Apple's going to dick around, we're just going to do it. So this thing syncs with your phone, shows your email, shows text messaging coming in, you can play music,
How much did they ask for?
$115 for the watch.
Wait,
The Kickstarter levels were
No,
$99. Oh, the total they asked for was like 100 and something thousand, maybe 200,000.
Okay, so they succeeded as a pre-order project.
As a pre-order product, yes, that's what it is.
You know, people putting funding into something that needed funding. The invisible hand.
I showed this to guys at work and sold a watch. Like, I was showing it to them as like, look at this insane shit that's going on. And one guy's going like,
I want that.
that looks pretty, I want that. And it's like, he just bought an iPod Nano Touch and the wrist strap off a Kickstarter. You know, I'm like, you just bought one of these, and you talked about how, like, it's a good concept, but it doesn't work in practice. And, like, now you're right back in there and doing it again.
The thing I like about having a cell phone now is I no longer have to wear a watch, because there's my clock. Why do I want to go back to wearing a watch?
Maybe this time will be better.
The last thing I want is more ways for people to interrupt me, too. It's like, it's right now, like, my phone doesn't vibrate for an email or a tweet or anything like that. You know, it's like, I have to manually check those because I don't want to be interrupted by those. But now I'll just have it. I'll look over at my wrist and be like, "Oh, there's 3 new emails. I should read them now."
I don't need something that I want to check. I don't. Don't feed the addiction.
But it's that old visceral feeling of saying you're running too long. You're running too long. I now have 8 emails. You are running way too long.
I don't know.
Wrapping up the things that I tagged that we've kind of segued into with the Kickstarter part. I should have moved these up in the news queue because, like, poor planning on my part. Extra Credits did their whole show this week basically on Kickstarter and crowdfunding. What's really excellent, other than, you know, it's Extra Credits and they're always excellent, that they talk about is they actually cover the 2 main ways games get funded these days. And it's really kind of eye-opening for me, for someone who's never, like, I'm not part of the games industry, you know, in any official capacity. So, you know, I knew there were publishers out there, right? And I knew, like, publishers would demand IP because, you know, I read about that a lot.
Yeah.
But the break it down of, like, how the publishers bring to the table, they'll have milestones, they will pay out money as milestones are met, and, you know, like, a lot of them can be written, like, you miss one milestone, publisher has everything, you know, it's just real one-sided, and how in the marketing contracts, the publisher will do the marketing, but then the publisher could ask for something to be done in the game for the purposes of marketing, and the studio kind of has to do that type thing. And then the other method of funding they recover is direct investing. The problem there being investors make money when your company sells or goes public, which may or may not be in the best interest of making a game. Like, if you just want to make a good game. So, I think they get it right in calling that this crowdfunding model, it's infant right now, it's an infancy model, it's going to change, it's going to evolve, but this could be a pretty big shift in how games get made.
Yeah. I think one of the interesting things they brought up was, you know, they point out that publishers do this because they're, you know, they want to make sure that, you know, developers don't screw them out of their money. And they're not, it's interesting that they don't paint publishers as completely evil, although they still have all the control in the situation, which means it can go horribly wrong and be horribly abused, but it's not like,
as
down with the 1%.
Yeah, I could say, like, as
nuanced.
a developer, as an indie studio, as, you know, watching the thing, even though, like, you know, well, this is to protect the publisher, and the publisher aren't all evil. All I heard was evil, 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 fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, evil, 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 take it up the ass. That's all I heard.
Well, I'm not saying it's not. I'm just saying, like, it's more balanced than, you know, your average gamer ranting about, you know, the state of the industry.
That's true. So, Chris and John, do you guys have thoughts with a little bit more actual industry experience? Do you think this crowdfunding thing is going to significantly shake things up, or do you think it's going to just remain in this indie realm?
Well, no, like, it's pretty much the do-it-yourself era has been trying to break the,
I guess, the modern paradigm of what, you know, running a business is. Like, you have to, right now in gaming, it's everything's gone through a publisher. They have controlling rights to your product and your IP. And so it's a way to circumvent that, and God willing, spammers don't take it over and ruin the whole thing for everyone. I see it having a lot of potential to really change the paradigm in the way, especially indie games are developed.
Yeah, it's really cool that it gives us as developers who we really are interested in the community and what the community thinks, and I think that the disconnect between developers and the community is sort of a hindrance in the video game industry. You've got big publishers, one game they pick up, it hits really hard, and the next thing you know, even if the developer doesn't want to make a sequel to it, the publisher will swoop in and be like, if you don't want to do it, we'll find somebody else. And then it kind of puts this beautiful, kind of really destroys this awesome art and turns it into what America does best is a way to spend money.
Yeah, basically creating a cash cow in a way. You take this idea.
Your beautiful idea from you, and then it's like, there's going to be one of these every year now.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, and
the Activision model.
Mm-hmm. And as gamers, there's a discontent that I share with a lot of the community in the way that things are being run nowadays.
I mean, what happened to waiting 5 years for a fucking awesome game?
Yeah, I know. Now they're just cranking them out like it's nobody's business. Like they just got cookie sheets and they just stamp them out and slap a $60 price tag on them.
I think the Assassin's Creed series, we've talked about that. Of man, when that came out, the first game or so of that, and even Brotherhood.
It's funny that you say game or so,
Well, it was hey, this is really
old.
you digging it,
that.
But it's not that old merely because they're cranking it out, and it's how do you take a serious story-driven game and in the span of the year significantly evolve the gameplay so gamers feel because gamers don't like to feel hey, you just reship the same engine, the same game.
You feel like you're getting your $60.
Right, you got some tech advancement and some refinement of gameplay, but at the same time, come up with an interesting story. That just does not seem, because how much time really would you have in a year game development cycle of a sequel to come up with a story? What do you get, 3 weeks? Before, hey, too bad, we got to start making assets now.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do, even if you're doing those things incrementally. But you look at the companies that are able to do, have more control over it, are people like Blizzard, and Blizzard is a rarity. Blizzard is their own thing because they have been so successful, because they have built up such, successful IPs that they kind of have the freedom to do it.
I wonder how much of Blizzard, though, comes from because they always had those ideals. I mean,
it may very well be. I'm not saying that, but because they're allowed to do it now.
I bet you even at Blizzard, there was somebody going,
I'm sure when Activision
just fucking ship StarCraft Ghost, guys.
Yeah.
We just spent a shit ton of money on this. Look at the books, man.
Yeah.
I mean, pre-WoW Blizzard, right? Pre-do whatever the fuck you want Blizzard. That had to be a significant drain when you had a team that long on a project, and it's we have a female Duke Nukem. That's what we got, guys. We got nothing,
Yeah,
and
that would
then
have hung over their heads, the rest of their career. I mean,
yeah. By them not doing that, it's when StarCraft 2 finally hits, of oh my god, finally.
One of the interesting. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I have a theory about the StarCraft Ghost. I just think Blizzard didn't want to completely dominate the shooter genre. Because pretty much every game they make, they just completely dominate.
Because then they'd have to do it again, and you'd basically be splitting spreading yourself too thin over too many genres.
But they always dominate by doing half of whatever the current genre is doing, and then just doing it better. Everybody thinks you have to have all these things, especially where RTSs went post-StarCraft, right?
Yeah.
So Warcraft and StarCraft kind of set this template, and then they kind of evolved off this template, and they kind of add all these systems, and StarCraft 2 comes back and no, bitches, it's the same it was in the 90s. That's what it is. And you're Yes, it is. Like all these other people have been screwing it up.
Yeah.
I mean, Diablo. Good lord, when Diablo was coming out, like I was like, I'm not playing this fucking game. Click to attack, collect loot. Are you serious? That's your fucking game? The dungeon's randomized, so like there's not going to be any like jump scares or anything in the dungeon because it's just going to be randomly generated. And then I obsessed with like 4 months of my life was like Diablo. I was like, this is the best thing ever. Just fucking click the mouse. Of course. Why else would you want anything in between me and the mouse clicking? And then they come out with Diablo 2, and it's like, guess what?
Clicking.
More mouse clicking. You know? Now you have 5 character classes, but they all click the shit out of the mouse.
Broken a mini mouse on the Diablo saga.
But I was going to go back to, you had said something before that the Kickstarter era is kind of like, it's do-it-yourself. And I'm kind of wondering if what we'll see is kind of what we saw in like digital publishing, ebooks and stuff like that. And I went to a panel at Dragon Con where they talked about this. But basically, for a while there, Kindle...
Have a beer, Dylan. Sorry, this only plays on the video.
Okay, Kindle opened up, and you could do, you could put your own book on there. And later on, publishing houses came along, smaller ebook publishing houses, and started, doing the marketing, doing the layout and the typesetting type of stuff for that. I wonder if we'll see that in Kickstarter. Ironically, that also means you'll see some of these same people who, hey, yeah, we'll make a Kickstarter for you, that are scams.
True. But that could be an interesting turnkey solution to basically like, hey, you're an indie studio, let us market, publish, manage your Kickstarter, and basically they would be publishers, but in a different way of, instead of publishers, taking the game, selling the game, and taking a cut of the game sales, basically their funding model of like, we're going to charge the studio.
Right. You do run the risk of, ending up in sort of a, meet the new boss, same as the old boss category. Not as bad, because smaller publishers, small, or whatever they're called, are not going to be the same as like the big evil EA, Activision.
Well, there'd be less money at risk.
Right, exactly. There'd be less money at risk, less money to be made. But I don't know. There's a lot of different directions it could go.
Speaking of
its own pitfalls,
money to be made, Microsoft Xbox division lost $229 million.
$1
So
with the pinky.
That's
Is that all the money lost right there?
No, that's a lot of ones.
That's a lot. That actually kind of caught me off guard because I still thought their Xbox division was like bringing in a bunch of bucks and like doing really well, and because they're selling all the services and the content thing, and I thought like, oh, okay, well, they're. I don't care anymore because, it's become this, like, buy Zune video service. But I thought, like, that was getting them a lot of money, and I guess not.
No, with how hard they've been pushing the stuff on the rewards program, I'm just like, people aren't buying this shit, are they?
Oh, that's a perfect segue to my other thing that I had for Microsoft this week. So I got an email on the Xbox Rewards. We're giving away 1 million... Balmer bucks here. Actually, it actually kind of sucks ass because it's like, no, it's like total. It's like one person doesn't get one, 1 million. It'd be so hilarious if you like got
with 1 million.
You would get your account hacked. That's what happened. You'd get like FIFA hacked.
You would be a target.
Yeah, and then Microsoft would take like months to recover your account. So anyway, so I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, okay, well, when are they going to award this? And I'm looking at how to enter.
Oh, yeah.
So the entry,
I saw that.
The entry is complete the registration form, get 1 entry. Buy a gold month, 1 month of gold, 1 entry, 3 months of gold, 3 entries, 12 months of gold, 12 entries, 12 months of family gold is 16 entries, and turn on auto renew on your account, 5 entries. Now I went and I've turned all the auto renews off all my stuff on Microsoft. Just basically out of paranoia for all the account hacking that's going on. And I'm like, maybe I can go in there and flip that back on and get like 6 entries or whatever, on this thing. Plus, I think our family account is coming up for renew. So I'm like, well, I get quite a number of entries. Maybe I will get, something on this. So I click on the official rules, right? Because they don't have the date of when.
See, I didn't go past that. I'm like, oh, I have to renew to get entries? No.
Well, wait.
I'm not even going to mention
Top
it.
line. No purchase necessary.
Well, that's a registration form. That's why you get
A purchase or payment of any kind will not increase your chances of winning. Yeah, at this point I'm like, what?
Well, do they mean per entry? Like an entry from a registration is no different than an entry from filling out the form?
But if you
collect more entries, then technically you have a better chance
individual
of winning,
entry,
but you don't.
Yeah, it seems like something's missing here, right? Something's out of whack from what they've been selling.
It looked like the Hunger Games, and I'm like, well, one guy
here's
had
what it is.
40 entries and didn't get picked.
Here's what it is. There's a mail-in method, guys. I am sharing this to everyone. I will have a link.
Actually.
I will have a link to the mail-in method, similar to the rhythm method. Instructions
Doesn't work either.
Here's what you do. You hand print your name, email address, your Xbox Live account gamer tag on a 3x5 piece of paper, mail it in an envelope. Now, they're kind of dicks because, like, 3x5 paper in an envelope, that's just not working out,
Are
right?
you trolling my... Like, are you trying to get a whole bunch of people to send in 20 entries?
So, wait a minute. Here's the beautiful part. You will receive 16 entries for 1 card.
What?
The limit is 1 card per envelope. Send as many cards. You could be the fucking guy in Real Genius down there printing off the Fritos wrappers and, like, wins all the prizes at the end.
No, this makes sense because this is like standard legal boilerplate for any contest. Like you have to be able to...
Right. To be a sweepstakes legally and not to be a lottery, which is illegal in some states, you have to have these free methods of getting all this shit.
Necessary, yes. But the fact that, you have to... So you can get 16 entries for 1 card?
Yes. 1 card, 16 entries.
No. Oh.
You will receive 16 entries into the sweepstakes with each correctly submitted 3x5 card. Limit 1 card per envelope.
I almost want to do this.
I almost thought
Chris,
of fuck it, let's just take a day off work and just fill out these cards. They have to be handwritten.
To prove that it can be done?
I will write it in purple glitter ink so that they know it's not been photocopied.
You know that Microsoft is probably not the one doing this? Microsoft is probably contracted out with some company that does this. And I wonder if they're like, oh great, not this crap again. Because I'm sure other people have tried to figure out how to game a sweepstakes.
I know, but it would be hilarious to get like an internet movement going of like mailing in these cards. And, like... basically, that Microsoft does this contest, and nobody re-ups their gold, and, like, the winner is a guy who filled out a card.
It just weights down, it just increases their costs.
It's like, congratulations, you won. It's like, yeah, I don't even have an Xbox Live Gold account, so, like...
But you have to write your gamer tag down on the card.
You do have to write a gamer tag. So, a silver tag, Like, my silver gamer tag wins.
Wow.
I would love it. I would laugh.
Tell me this would not catch fire on the internet. We should move for this.
It would hit fail blog. It would hit fail blog.
This is ripe for trolling.
This is exactly what I'm saying.
Problem, Microsoft?
Oh.
Dude, actually, that's how you sell it. You make a troll face comic.
Okay, there we go. This is done. Writes itself.
It does write itself.
And we set up a Tumblr, problemmicrosoft.tumblr.com. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that alive just now in the air. Somebody's grabbing that. Have you noticed, like, there's all these Tumblrs of just, like, one fucking image?
I've not gone through Tumblr.
No. So this usually comes up in, like, Google for something.
Okay.
Like, I'm Googling the meaning to a song lyric, right? And I find out, like, oh, there's, like, the excuse me while I kiss the sky.tumblr.com. I click that. and it's like one image of Jimi Hendrix, and that's the whole fucking Tumblr. Like there's no more posts.
Weird.
Yes.
People use this as their blog. Why are you taking their usernames?
Excuse me while I kiss the sky is somebody's username.
I don't know. But
you can't type that into
surely in there, in these one image Tumblrs, someone has stolen some good usernames.
Speaking of trolling Microsoft,
oh no.
Dave Voiles has a pretty interesting post up on Dream Build Play. So for those of you who don't remember, Dave Voiles was on our podcast a month or so ago, a little while ago. Yeah, it was a podcast we talk a lot about because he did a lot of indie game reviews and
there's one I wasn't on.
Or you weren't on?
I can't remember. Which weekend that was.
So he started working on game development, and he started recreating Mega Man 2 with the Unreal Engine, creating it in 3D. And this post actually kind of outlines how he's trying to use that as a learning project to get into game development. And the funny thing is like he learned every tool but programming first. So like he was building the worlds in like 3D Studio Max and the levels and everything before he actually started like coding up the game. And he started coding up the game in the Unreal Engine. And then we start doing the Dream Build Play contest, and he's a great fan and supporter of Xbox Live Indie Games. So he's like, yeah, I'll enter. Of which he's entering Pong with cats.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Pong played by cats, and has all the production values that you would expect Pong with cats to have.
I remember when I was working on the XNA Last Dance site, like he'd already uploaded his box art. It's this GIF.
An animated GIF.
With ping pong paddles. Real photos.
Yeah.
Go to xnalastdance.com, go to the gallery. You should still see it. It's a thing that is there.
I highlighted this post, though, because I thought it was a pretty good read, just of, because we've been doing this, or working on this for a while, and it's always kind of refreshing to see somebody new approach it, because sometimes they see things in ways that you don't, because you're kind of locked into your way, like you learned this way, so that's the way you always do it, and, somebody that's new has that beginner's mind, and I thought that was kind of cool, so, sharing that. And then the other news article that I had up here is our good old friends at Z-Boyd Games. Robert Boyd has a great post detailing the effect of short-term sales overall quantity. So this is done in a lot of marketplaces. Drop the price of your game to get a lot of sales, get a lot of ratings, boost your position on the list, and then the price goes back up after the sale with the belief that in the long run you make more money.
Right.
And he pretty much posts that out. He vets that out with sales that he's done with his game on Steam. And now he kind of has to extrapolate out of that because he's doing the Penny Arcade game. Like,
that kind of exploded and people are going
right,
back.
So people are finding his studio because it's a studio that's doing the Penny Arcade game. So he kind of has to you have to look at it from these periods because, it gets skewed when you look at these other successful things. But yeah, basically that technique works. That does work. In the long run, you end up with more sales. When you raise the price back to full price, people continue to buy it because you're on the charts. And, it comes down to a recurring theme. It's exposure.
Yeah.
Whether it's position on lists or it's reviews covering you, or, sites talking about you, viral videos or something, it's exposure. There's a lot of gamers out there looking for games, but there's a lot of games to look at, and indie game developers trying to,
Raw, just quality of the game will only take you so far by itself.
Right.
And I wonder how that experience works with Steam compared to Xbox Live Indie Games, because I'm sure
unfortunately, Xbox Live Indie Games,
like the curve is different.
They force you to a 3-month price cycle, so you can't have a sale. You can drop the game for 3 months, and 3 months later move it back up.
But even if you did the same thing on Steam, I imagine there's more traffic on Steam, fewer games, so you see a different effect than you would at other places. Not saying that doesn't change not saying that changes.
Then again, if you're on Xbox Live Indie Games, You're not there for the money to begin with.
This is true.
Any more comments, John, Chris, before I start the Kickstarter recap of the week?
On this particular topic?
Any topic, anywhere.
Oh.
I don't know, man.
That's, man, putting us on the spot now. We've just been kind of listening.
All right, then. Well,
I did have one more news article that I found.
Oh, yes, the mono.
And the guy who does that, I feel like I'm going to pronounce his name wrong. Miguel de Acaza?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He had a blog post that said, the Monogame team has been working on adding Windows 8 Metro support to Monogame. The title of this blog post is XNA on Windows 8 Mono. Or XNA on Windows 8 Metro, so...
True.
That's very interesting.
Via mono, yeah. I will say, hypothetically, if the Sunburn game engine had rebuilt its compiler to compile natively, that they were up and running on WinRT as native WinRT apps. Hypothetically, unsubstantiated rumors, no idea where I heard that from.
Right. So that is interesting, though, that you've got, in the theory, you have that option. In theory, you're going to have, other people are supporting this where Microsoft is not necessarily.
I think it's going to come back to bite Microsoft. I know we've talked about this a lot in the past, but dropping the managed framework.
Yeah. I think they'll have to come around and go, oh crap, kind of like they did on Windows Phone 7 when eventually they added in support for Silverlight and XNA in the same project.
Right.
Which before you could technically do it, but
it was hackish, and
I think it was because the guy, I heard someone talking about it in a presentation, and I think the guy said, like, yes, you can technically do this, you can climb the visual tree and render it, but you're going to get rejected if you do that.
Oh yeah, that they would if they caught you mixing. Interesting.
And then eventually they
hey, you know why there's no Instagram for Windows Phone 7?
Because they don't want to completely piss off their user base?
No, because Microsoft doesn't allow developers direct access to the camera.
Oh.
Yeah. So, who's got the walled garden? That's what I want to know.
Depends on which side you're looking from.
I don't know anything about the Windows Phone.
You and 99% of America.
Yep.
Oh, I feel a little bit better about that.
Didn't they learn this lesson like 5 years ago?
Yeah.
No.
Yes. They had higher Windows Mobile 6.5 had higher market share than Windows Phone 7. Basically, there were people who came in who had held out through all of the Android phones, through all of the iPhones, with their Windows Phone, who walked into the Verizon store that day and went, yeah, I'm ready for the new Windows Phone. I got my 6.5. Give me 7. Wait, what's that over there? An iPhone, you say? Wow, that is nice. Fuck the Windows Phone. I want this iPhone. Yeah, so, I think I had something else, but I forgot. I'll just press on.
Kickstarter.
Kickstarters. All right. Right up the bat here, we've got Micromon. And if that doesn't tell you what this is a clone of,
Pokemon?
Yeah. But,
Wow.
Pokemon essentially on a phone. On a mobile phone. Which is interesting because, like, I can't really see Nintendo porting Pokemon to the #1 competitor to the Nintendo DS.
Yes.
Of like, let's just take our... Like, if you could get Pokemon on an iPhone...
It would be there.
What do I need my DS for anymore?
Exactly. Like, smartphones are the threat at this point to handheld gaming consoles.
Looking down this Kickstarter, it's a pretty hardcore clone. I mean, down to you having a little dude that, runs around, their poster, man, of like,
But it's not going to be Pokemon, that's the thing. Like,
yeah.
$43,000.
Yeah, I think they have colors instead, but they do evolve. So, like, they have colors instead of elements, I think. But everything is like...
I hope they ran this by a lawyer first.
It's like they have two all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese on a sesame seed bun, but we have a plain bun. right? So we're different.
We have
They're
a
McDonald's,
sourdough bun.
we're McDowell's.
You know, I'm not sure that you would get sued for making a Big Mac because special sauce is just Thousand Island dressing. It's not.
Not anymore.
Let's go leave this mayonnaise out in the sun.
This one that I'm highlighting here, yeah, I'm not... It's got a vaguely cheesy video, but it's the idea of asking for $800. So it's like, you're asking for $800, you want some software license, you know, to get the game, and basically he's got this little story that his wife, they live in Germany, he's German, I guess, she's not. She went across the street to the convenience store to ask for some eggs, but the way she said eggs sounded like balls in German. So she basically went across the street and asked the guy, do you have any balls? And from this, he's made like a Frogger clone and wants to get it up on iOS.
Sounds extremely convoluted for a Frogger clone.
Frogger clone?
Yeah, yeah.
$100. I'm not that there's anything wrong with that.
That part's fine, but
the
a
story.
Frogger clone from Get Eggs.
You might want to get a little closer to the mic. Yeah. Yeah, no, as I said, I'm not linking on this one because of the game. The story was kind of cute. It was novel. You know, for a cute novel and a story, I think you should be able to get your $800 for your license.
Yeah.
No, I didn't back that one, but
Thank you.
other people should. Now, this next one I have here, I almost wish we would do annual awards on Kickstarter. Maybe this one drives us to do an annual Kickstarter award. Okay? They want $80,000. This has an extremely elaborate setup. Okay? Like the video, the story.
How long does it take to get into the meat of the...
I mean, it's a minute and 30 seconds. They don't ever show gameplay. They have no gameplay to show. But they pretty much have all this concept art and everything worked out. But as you go on to the video and as you get to it, where's the scene that tells it all? So they're basically like setting up like this fight of humans and dragons, but they find out that dragons don't like bunnies, so the humans catapult bunnies into the dragon structures.
No, bunnies sound like a fly roasted snack.
Sounds like Angry Birds.
It's fucking Angry Birds. Yes. This would win the
Better
award.
story, though.
This would win the award as the most elaborate request for an Angry Birds clone on Kickstarter. Like, the level of effort that they put into hiding that it's just Angry Birds is impressive. I mean, okay, let me start scrolling to this page. You have to scroll to this page, go visit this page, and scroll through all the concept art and diagrams and mock-ups that they have posted.
That looks pretty.
It does look nice.
It's almost like take all these assets.
It's good artwork, I gotta say.
And there's boobs. I saw boobs twice.
Yeah, she's Lady
90% boobs.
She looks like
She's
she's got like a name like Lady Dinah Desmond, Lady Double D.
Double D.
Yeah.
Bra size, maybe.
You can use a bra instead of a slingshot. I do like the little figure of a guy dragging on the toilet with the iPhone, playing the game. That's cute. Where's the...
I don't know. Although I will say, like, kudos that they were actually able to get this much content up. Because that, I mean, that actually shows that
there it is.
They might use this.
You can, apparently, I guess, maybe unlock the lady's bra and use that instead of the slingshot. So, it's got that going for it.
You mean you can't throw the little rabbits at her boobs and have them bounce off into the volcano?
No, not enough springiness.
I would be more up on this project if it wasn't just a bunch of collection of concept art and an Angry Birds clone.
Yeah, I mean, the Angry Birds part is the part that kills it. It looks like they're making a lot of progress. It's just...
$10 of 80,000 requested.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for
especially since it looks like
the iOS title.
It looks like the it is an iPad, iPhone. they'll do Android 1 month after they release iOS. So I'm guessing they're using a Unity or they're using a cross-platform.
Yeah, some form of engine.
Most likely they're using an engine to develop.
1 month is.
But you know, $80,000 to me, with the art that you already have capable on staff. Now, granted, I don't know how they're getting paid that they got to do that art, but I'm assuming, you know, like in an indie studio, somebody's working for the love, and in this case, it looks like the artist.
Yeah, I can definitely see in the quality of the concepts that I don't know if he's a key. Clearly whoever has done this artwork is a key component in this, because the artwork I will say is very good. But beyond that, I'm not really sure.
If the art was applied to another concept, I think he'd have a successful thing. It's just that all that artwork, and it's like Angry Birds are in space now. A guy showed that to me at lunch. I haven't been interested to check it out, but they actually are on like a moon. They're on like a planet, and the planet has gravity. So you can slingshot the birds like around the moon, and then they loop back in and smash into it. And then he was like, it's actually kind of a novel twist, and they've taken it in new directions. Like, I didn't think they would, but they did. So given that Angry Birds has upped its game, the base mechanic, you know, is...
Yeah, you can't just make the same old thing at this point.
Next one here is Kataru, which Katara is the name of a Final Fantasy character, isn't that?
Katara is...
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dragonlance.
Okay. This guy is a film and CG effects guy. Okay? I think he's going to hit his up to 4,000, 25 requested, and he definitely went for like a 45-day Kickstarter, so he's going to get it, but the voiceover is a little weird because he didn't, either they threw it out or he didn't mic himself on location, and he's obviously re-saying it lip-synced. Okay?
Yeah.
This here is going to be an action RPG, is what he's going for, with a lot of CG cutscenes involved in that, and he said he's been working on it for 5 years in the video. I have no idea how, but go ahead.
It totally looks like he's been putting the time in. This is definitely well made.
So, I'm gonna watch this a little bit. I'm on the fence. I think, didn't we get a shot? Yeah, so we got some game footage going on here, and I think I want to see more game footage, less CG cinematic. You know, because if it's an action RPG, then cutscenes are nice, but, you know, you kind of want to see gameplay, because then it could just end up being, you know, a Diablo, which may not be bad.
I mean, like, I love the bouncer back for the PlayStation 2, and that was pretty much just nothing but cinematics. And
It was a really short game, too. It didn't take more than a couple hours to beat it.
But, you know, some games I like that. You know, sit down, play it. It's like watching a movie.
Now, he does, too, say PC, Mac, iOS, Android. And that's the other thing that always gives me hesitant. You know, it's like not too many people have worked out cross-platform controls.
Yeah, what works on the phone doesn't necessarily work on the PC. What works on the PC...
Right. So... that, I think those are the two things that at the moment have given me pause. I may come back and back this one. But it didn't jump out, but I think it's going to be funded. I definitely think it's going to be funded. It looks great and amazing. I got to refresh myself. Why did I even put this in? It's Oh, yeah. So this guy is this is Sword of Justice. He's got a very thick accent, and the humor isn't done well. Basically, like, I guess they went out to either like a tank in a field or rented a tank and then shot a bunch of scenes around it, but it's really jump cut edited to detriment of the video, even like in the middle of the same sentence. Now, I was watching all of that, and I was like, okay, I'm not feeling it, and I think what's killing his Kickstarter is not the game. It's the fact he spends so much time with his tank and him popping out with little lines and talking about his tank and talking about making games and talking about his dream. Like, again, show the gameplay footage. Like, just get there. But
having a story is good.
When he gets to the gameplay footage, these are static screens. I'm pretty sure. Didn't he have that animated? Yeah, so when he got to the gameplay footage, the idea of a heavy, like, World War II RTS is what he's going for. And I looked at it and I was like, I want to play this. You know, this looks like all I think he's got in the game at the moment are the tanks, and some of the buildings and the construction. But, it's like a really gritty, real RTS. So it's like instead of like the StarCraft iconified, characterized units, this almost like has a throwback to Close Combat. If you played any of the Microsoft Studios Close Combat games of the later 90s, that were big. So it's basically like a nice, like Close Combat was a nice, World War II game that was not played on a hex grid. So if you didn't want to play a hex grid type World War II games, it doesn't appeal to me too much because I like the real-time combat aspect. Close Combat was a game. This looks a really great updated one. I think he's going to have a rough time. Just simply for the way that video was laid out. Like, I don't think people are spending a whole lot of time diving into this one, realizing that, hey, it could be interesting. The other thing, yeah, $10 was a background pack. Yeah, $25 for the game. So you received the complete game downloadable version at the $25 level. Hey, there is a beta test version at $10, but again, $10. Your game's got to be $10. You don't know who you are, unknown studio taking a risk. $25 in digital distribution world is a lot. Like, I don't buy games on Steam that much anymore that are AAA titles. I wait for a sale.
And if it's an RTS, it could turn out to be complicated enough to be worth it, but that's a hard sell to make.
I have to agree with you on that.
Yeah, and it can be hard to balance an RTS too.
Yeah.
And so
a lot of design.
Great looking RTS could be ruined by, the balance.
Yeah, definitely.
This one I put in here for you, Dylan, and Cicely, because this is definitely JRPG territory. Not my cup of tea, but, like, this looks like old school JRPG-ness. And down to, the combat. Here it is. Bam. You are,
This is like a Wild West
surprised
JRPG?
by a rat. Yes.
Okay.
So it is a Wild West themed. So instead of being fantasy themed, it's Western theme.
That's interesting.
I had Wild Arms, I mean, that was similar in a way.
I guess I never played that, but I've seen like some of the box art and stuff, and I guess that makes sense.
So I figured the fans of JRPGs would be interested in that one.
Not you, but
$15.
Like a Org JRPG.
Yeah.
Deep World. So they do start off with gameplay right up front, and make themselves look like Terraria. At least they're kind of honest and like talking about Minecraft, and they're not trying to like say it's something it's not, but they are going for a, yeah, you did see that correctly. There was a little My Little Pony clip, in there. They are talking about what else they've done, and essentially they go back to the scene of, Neo and Lawrence Fishburne. It was his
Morpheus.
On the truck exploding, and they have Rainbow Dash fly in and save them.
That's weird.
That's like the whole video too. But they put that in there, and I Googled until I finally found their actual like My Little Pony Kickstarter. By the way, I got into the whole like derpy thing. That's another topic, but it like
Derpy hoof or whatever.
yeah, like so. Internet Rage is awesome. Internet Rage with bronies,
Do not touch it.
even better. For your Internet Rage $1, even better.
Have you watched it? Like, are you going
Yeah,
into this?
we've
having-
watched.
okay.
Yeah. I don't want to get off topic off the deep world here, but the so the idea is basically that they want a persistent world Minecraft server. So an MMO Minecraft, a Minecraft MMO basically.
But kind of built to, that built for persistent world, whereas Minecraft, you can do a persistent server, but
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a friend server. A couple
Yeah.
guys get on or something like that, and you exchange. Which does beg the question of how will they handle griefing?
yeah. I mean, I think it's stuff like that you kind of have to, that Minecraft isn't built for, and you would have to figure out.
The Animal Crossing all over.
Unfortunately, because they don't say Terraria in the video, I think they had a YouTube video of more gameplay, or maybe I found their YouTube channel when I was looking for the Brony video. And I watched their extended gameplay on that, and they were getting a lot of flack for not saying Terraria, of like, I don't know why you guys
they
didn't say
2D?
Terraria. They're 2D.
Okay.
You've ripped this off, and I hate, it was like, it was not warranted for what they've shown and what they've talked about, but for what the game is at the
Welcome
moment.
to Internet Rage.
Yeah. They have $4,000, 26 days to go to their goal of $20,000, which is kind of interesting because it's like, do you know what an MMO would take? Do you know what just a persistent world game would take to set up?
Yeah. I mean, even if it's like Minecraft, where people are pretty forgiving of, there's going to be bugs because it's beta.
The last one up, I'm surprised is not actually funded. I'm going to refresh it. Grim Dawn. I don't know if... Who's the guy on this? Crate Entertainment. I don't know if they have a background.
Dang.
This is an open-world action role-playing game. Part of their success, they're opening right with gameplay. Like, bam, there you go. There's everything in tonsils to boot, man. That's...
And it looks like they've actually, they've gotten pretty far on this.
Yeah, I mean, they have an engine. They definitely have an engine up and going of, like, the combat.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of elements not shown, but that's the beauty of, like, the gamer will imagine those if he sees something that he can start to believe in, and do that. I don't know if he gets back to more gameplay footage. Yeah, there we go. So it looks really well done, and I think it just popped in today, honestly. And it's already halfway there, almost halfway there, for what they're going on. Right timing too. I mean, with Diablo 3 around the corner, this is, capitalize, ride that wave. It's funny how, like, genres go cyclical. And, like, everybody gets into an action RPG all at the same time and then move on. So that could be really interesting. I mean, the units that he's got is pretty novel as well. Now, he does talk in the video several ideas that they have for differences. Right? So...
Differences from, like, the standard action.
Yeah, so it's
Diablo.
like, yeah, I'm not getting into them here now, but they've got, like, several ideas of, like, we're going to try this, and we're going to go in that direction with this, and so we're not just trying to make, click, get loot, repeat,
Right.
and directly compete with Diablo in that regard, but it definitely looks like a successful one. I give it that. Back on, so back on the My Little Pony that saves everything. Do you know what this whole thing is about? Are you
I've
up
seen
on
bits
this?
and pieces. I've watched one episode just to figure out what the hell, like
Like what was
why
going
is this
on?
the big deal? I've tried to watch, like, I put it on my Netflix queue, like, okay, I'll finally see what this whole brony thing is. Like, they get to the theme song and, like, I can't watch this.
It's okay.
I cannot sit through this.
I'll
done.
tell you, Dylan. Now, granted, I've got a wife that has like a garage half full of My Little Pony collections.
Yes.
No, I have
Okay, well-
called the herd. You leave me alone.
Literally called The Herd.
Yeah,
The Herd of ponies.
I have 3 daughters.
So
Okay.
you have an excuse.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be on.
Yes.
Like it's not avoidable.
So you might as well...
And I think Wednesday night, like, might have been my brony moment. That might have been like when it happened. I think that might have been when I may watch an episode without any daughters or wife around. Like, I may just, I'm going to watch an episode. Because in the car, we went to Sonic with lunch with my middle daughter, Hannah, 8 years old. And it's become a thing for us on Wednesday nights. We like to go to Sonic, and then I stream Netflix on the iPhone, and it's like a little like mini drive-in. We get our food, and because normally she has to sit in the back, so she gets to sit up front, which is always a cool thing when you're a kid. And we watch it. What do you want to watch? And we watch like 2 episodes of My Little Pony, and like at this point, like I know too many of the names, their personalities. It's like it's sucking.
There's a difference between being a guy who watches My Little Pony
One of us.
and being a brony.
Yeah.
I've learned that. I've gone to enough conventions where I've heard about the brony panels. There's always that pony.
But I don't know if it's a slippery slope. Like, if like once you've given in to I will watch an episode, if it's all downhill from there.
My theory is that for some people, and why it has become such a big meme thing from the episode I've watched, people watch the first 20 minutes where they're all jerks to each other, and not the last 2 minutes where they learn the valuable lesson, and that's why that pony
The
shows
Little
up
Ponies
at
are
every
bitches,
panel.
every one of them.
Yes.
I just want them to bring back the boy pony dolls. There used to be boy ponies. There needs to be boy ponies
There's
again.
more ponies in the show.
Are there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
They're prevalent.
They're rare, and they're
they're-
usually doing like some manual labor, which has a whole nother level of like, that seems wrong. Like all the boy ponies
slaves?
are plowing the fields. Yes.
Well, Macintosh is a better plower than his sister Applejack, but they're not all
There's a subtext there of sexism.
true. And then Twinkle came in a chariot driven by males. Almost all of the guards for the princess are male.
So, the female ponies are jerks. The male ponies are doing work. Gender inequality, like, is this like a matriarchal society?
Well, Pinkie Pie's parents both run the bakery.
Oh.
So,
anyway,
What is the
I
economy of
discovered this
Equestria?
derpy thing. Okay, derpy hooves. Right? It actually is kind of a fucking awesome thing. Now, granted, I'm on the brony side of the meter at this point, so I it may not be as awesome as I think it was, but essentially in I think the very first episode, I need to go back and like double check. There's this gray pony with blonde hair, and her eyes were fucked up, like artist error. Okay, like the eyes weren't going in the same direction, and like the fans like named her Derpy Hooves. Okay, because no shit, these people catalog every appearance of every pony in every episode, like fuck Wikipedia. Like they have their own Wikipedia, database thing happening, and like down to the second.
This is a fandom.
It got to the point where when I wanted to find the episodes that Derpy Hooves were in, it was like no. I just want to know like the significant ones, not like 3 seconds in the background behind this cart. It's a debate of if that was Derpy Hooves or not. I'm like, I don't care about that episode.
That you're even getting to the point where the people who make the show themselves don't know.
Well, so
The
it
fans have
becomes a
created their
fan
own
thing.
reality.
It becomes a fan thing, and so the artists kind of run with it, and then they have an episode later where like this pony drops a bunch of furniture, and they make that pony be Derpy Hooves, and they have her eyes like start normal, and then like as she dropped everything, it's like kind of klutzy, and then like they let her eyes go slightly off as like a fan service thing, right? And the fans are loving it, and then like in the second season now, they make her a character. They like bring her forefront, and they have this woman write the script. Now, originally, she wrote the script and named her, like, she was originally named Ditsy Do. Okay? When the pony was given official status. But they actually came to her. No, they did. They came to her and they said, like, hey, the fans call her Derpy Hooves. Here's the history behind it. Are you cool? Her name's only ever said once in the episode. Just call her Derpy. Okay. So she was like, yeah, you know, kind of love this klutz pony, you know, and it's all of this thing. So they went out. And then the uproar came. Okay. Of these parents that, you know, just live to rant about shit, right? Of how this pony was an insult to retarded kids. And that My Little Pony was just, right? And
no, it's the internet that hates
well, it was
kids.
Led by a whole bunch of others. It was led by, you know, like these mother groups, you
Blame
know,
them.
And these religious groups and all, they protected children and all that. And so Hasbro immediately reacted, and edited out a lot of the pony from the episode, right? So this is within a week of airing. They went into the studio, they made cuts, and they took out her name. Because they just cut the audio, so they didn't have people back in to reshoot anything, and they just cut everything, and it was edited. So you know, then the bronies, like, were called to action because nobody picks on the bronies' ponies, right? Like, Derpy's special, but you don't fuck with Derpy. Like, the bronies will come out en masse, and they launched this entire...
they will destroy you.
They launched this entire Save Derpy campaign and make it huge. Like, it was just something, like, that had to be addressed. And... like, these guys...
they were just as adamant as the people for the mentally challenged kids.
Well, no. They were beyond, because, like, these guys that are into the brony thing and do the videos, like, what they can do with animation is as good or better than the actual show.
Yes, they can make their own animation.
And there's this one Save Derpy YouTube video where she's sitting there, all right? The pony's just sitting there, single spotlight silhouette, and she's like, hi, my name is Derpy Hooves, and I've been in the background, and you guys love me, and then finally I got to come out and play with everyone, but then they started calling me names, like stupid, and dumb, and retarded. And then, like, the pony starts tearing up, and it's like, I'm offensive, and I'm sorry, you know, it's not my fault that my eyes aren't normal, and it's not my fault that I walk funny and I'm different, but it's okay. I'll go back into the background.
She's still a joke when she comes to the foreground.
I don't want to hurt anybody. Like, this is the whole thing. Like, I'll go to the background. I don't want to hurt anybody. I'm sorry for doing everything. Like, I'll be better. I'll try harder. I'm sorry. And you're like, this is genius. Because, like, imagine, like, a retarded kid apologizing for being retarded.
Yeah, but
it's like that level of, like, we embrace her because she's different, and she's a champion for being different.
Like, she's still a joke when she's in the foreground, isn't she?
Not a joke in the sense of, like, she's special needs funny. She's a klutz. All right,
yes.
So...
like, even if she was normal, she would still be a klutz.
But then again, like, half the episodes, the ponies are klutzes. You know, like,
even
all of the episodes are like, some pony is backing and knocking something over.
I have a hard time... like, I think the argument they make is awesome from an argument standpoint. Like, it's a little bit specious, I think, just because the...
Well, then Hasbro basically, like, gets caught between, like, a rock and a hard place, because, like, they edited... so, like, guilty by association. But this rabid fan base, they've kind of given, like, a nod to, like, let's go with that, because if these guys are buying the fucking toys, it's money, right? So they've kind of been okay and on board with the brony thing. They don't do cease and desists. And Hasbro is a cease and desist fucking happy company, all right? The other things that they have done.
Now, I've heard brony started out on B, as in 4chan. Like, I kind of wonder if that has something to do with it. Like,
no, that is...
what happens if we mess
that
up
is
these
true.
people?
It is like guys on 4chan talking about My Little Pony.
And a lot of them are modders of the original, like the G1 series. If you got a bait pony, is what they call them, you can turn them into Master Chief Pony and this pony and Darth Vader Pony.
Go ahead, John.
Hello?
John, Chris?
Oh yeah, what's up?
Hey, we're here.
Oh, okay. I thought you were starting to say something. I thought I heard something.
We were probably just making some comments in the background.
Yeah, I was just talking to the peanut gallery.
But they're real adamant about making mod ponies, and some of them
So what I'm
sell.
curious about, because like the DVD run or something had the unedited version, or there was some version that came out that was unedited, and then there was another version that came out that was edited that you could buy. And so I'm curious, because Netflix only has season 1 and this show happened in season 2, like what version will be on Netflix. Now here's the thing. Here's the ultimate, this was never meant to be any smack on a child who's retarded or mentally challenged. The woman who wrote the episode, who said, yeah, I like Derpy and she's a klutz and identifying all that, her son is mentally challenged. I don't know that she said he was retarded. I don't know that may be it, but it was something. But he has mental and he's special needs. And, she's like, I would never in a million years do that. And then she actually said, I'm kind of glad the name's changed. I'd never heard of Derpy used to describe retarded before. And it's like, well, if you go on the internet, any word
You
can
can
be
trace
anything.
it back, though. I mean, you can...
Yeah, but it's like, people can use it that way, but that's not the general use, It's more around... I mean, come on, like when they did Dumb and Dumber, like that was marketed with the derp is back or something was a slogan on that. And, those guys were never attributed to mentally, they were just idiots.
Yes.
Yeah, which there is a difference, to be fair. Some people just do stupid shit, so...
Yeah, and that's what, she kind of, just going for and all that. But, when she found that out, she was like, yeah, I would never even go close to that, so I'm not comfortable for it being that. Which kind of quelled the issue. When the writer came out and said that, and she would prefer not to, she made no calls. Hasbro doesn't call me. I'm just a freelance writer that got to write an episode. So I made no calls, but, I'm kind of okay with this. Then the brony's kind of like, okay, well then... we can accept that as canon, I guess, or something, is where that ended.
Wow.
But, I mean, it's like, you gotta get into this world, Dylan. There's a whole, thing happening over here.
Dylan has to do
You
a
can
crazy...
have great conversations with Chad.
Chad doesn't watch it.
Is it Charlie?
Charlie watches it.
Okay.
And he's not even... I think he's gone to some of these... he was the one... Him, and then one of the other guys that does a lot of podcasts at these conventions, Basil from the Awesome Cast, I think is into it. I want to say he went to one. There's a couple other people I know, and apparently at every Brony panel, there is that pony. In fact, I think at two panels, there were that ponies, who the same
No, wait,
same
would you say,
girl was
that pony? Or
some girl who just comes in and tries to answer all the questions, tries to, it becomes about her. Eats all the cupcakes that someone brings. Literally, that guy.
Okay, wait, yeah. So when you say pony, are you meaning a guy coming in and making it about him? Or do you mean a girl comes to the brony meeting?
A girl. Because brony, again, does not necessarily mean guy. Well, it's the My Little Ponies panel.
Oh, okay, it's a generic panel.
In this case, it's a girl, but I guess it could be a guy.
Yeah, I can't apply brony to girls.
The prefix
Like I said,
bro and
bro.
implicate male.
Yeah.
I've heard it. I've seen it referenced one place saying that it is from /B plus ponies.
Like a 4chan
possible.
reference.
Yeah, that's a 4chan possible.
I don't know. There's a whole etymology and history, and someday scholars will.
Do they hoof bump there? Does that?
Yes.
What? I don't know.
There is
I'm
a
kinda
special.
scared
There is a
of
special way of fist bumping for bronies.
Is there?
Yes. Like
What?
you I
didn't
guess you're
know
supposed to do
this.
your hand like a hoof. Hey, things I just found on Google, man. As I researched into the save derpy, that just opened up my eyes to a whole new world.
I don't know why, but I'm just I'm not into I totally get the whole fandom thing, but it's
The most
there
disturbing
is
part.
life outside of it.
The most disturbing part about watching My Little Pony is they don't actually swear as much as YouTube has led me to believe. Because
bet
like
yeah.
all of the My Little Pony that I have
Kids show,
watched
they don't
is like
swear at all.
epic cupcake time and epic pie time, right? And it's like when they don't actually. But see, the funny thing is like in the show, those are their personalities. Like when they do their
jerks.
YouTube videos, yeah, they're not exaggerating and stretching anything. Like they behave that way in the show.
And Pinkie Pie is a ninja.
So when they don't swear,
A drugged out
it feels
ninja
like they left out something.
who needs to swear.
Oh.
I need like the TVMA rated pony.
Charlie keeps telling me I need to watch My Little Pony Friendship is Witchcraft. I don't know if you've seen that, but I'm just going to float that out there. I have not watched it.
That's like a YouTube thing. Is that what that is?
What?
Hey, is that a YouTube thing?
Yeah. I think it's like where they literally,
got
like you say,
Witchcraft
they you know, like redub, re-edit, but kind of leave
Like a YouTube poop kind of thing?
a YouTube what?
Like the videos YouTube poop where they like splice random clips together for this very bizarre form of alternative comedy.
I don't know. I think it's more like the abridged series that people do, like Naruto abridged.
Like the Juggernaut.
and things like that.
All right, well, I think we killed the game conversation for the evening. I want to thank you, John and Chris, for coming on the show. Better Cell 2 looks great. I mean, it sounds really interesting. I wish you guys best of luck. And I'll keep an eye out for when that pops up on Kickstarter again.
Yeah, we will keep you in the loop, and thank you so much for having us on. We really appreciate it. It was fun.
Yeah, dude, it was really fun shooting the shit.
All right. To everyone, thank you for tuning in to the live stream or downloading the podcast or watching this on YouTube or however you watch the show. We will be back and do this again in a week.